At the bottom of page 3 in the section 3.1 notes, we are going to start solving some simple interest problems, okay? So if you look, there are some directions for the following examples. It says, in all problems involving days, a 360-day year is assumed. When annual rates are requested as an answer, express the rate as a percentage correct to 3 decimal places unless otherwise directed, and round dollar amounts to the nearest cent. Okay, so just to kind of translate these directions, for simple interest, that is usually when you're going to see a 360-day year assumed. Okay, again, I told you earlier when we were talking about time, as far as days go, you will always be told whether or not to use 360 days or 365 days. So for these particular problems in this simple interest section, we are going to assume a 360-day year. The second sentence, when it talks about the annual rates, all that is saying is if you happen to solve for an interest rate, if your problem is asking you to solve for an R value, you need to state the answer is a percentage correct to 3 decimal places. And the last sentence is saying, and this goes throughout financial math, anytime you have a monetary answer, you need to give the answer in dollars and cents. You need to round to the nearest cent. Okay. All right. In examples 4 and 5, they are simple interest. Okay. I am telling you that these two problems, examples 4 and 5, involve the formula I equals P times R times T. Okay. After we do these two problems, we will look at examples 6 and 7, and those will involve the other simple interest formula, A equals P times 1 plus RT, okay? So in doing these examples, we're going to talk about why it's a simple interest problem and why we're using the formula we're using, okay? When we get to examples 8, 9, and 10, they will be simple interest problems. Okay, and again, we will discuss why, but you're going to have to figure out which formula to use, whether it's I equals PRT or it's A equals P times 1 plus RT. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at examples 4 and 5 where you were told to use I equals P times R times T. So example 4 says if $5,000 is loaned for 9 months at a 6.2% annual rate, how much interest is earned? Okay, first thing we need to talk about, why is this a simple interest problem? Okay, yes, we're in section 3.1, so it's got to be a simple interest problem, okay, but think ahead. When you take a test over this material, you're going to have all the formulas mixed up, okay? How would you identify this as a simple interest problem, okay? Remember what we talked about, okay? We said that if it's a simple interest problem, it is what? It is either going to have the phrase simple interest in it, okay? If you scan this problem, you do not see the phrase simple interest, okay? So we got to think, what's the other thing that makes it simple interest, okay? Since we don't see the phrase simple interest, do we see the word compounded, okay? You read through it, I don't see the word compounded. That makes it a simple interest problem, okay? So that narrows it down. You're either going to use I equals P times R times T, or you're going to use A equals P times 1 plus, or A equals P times 1 plus RT, okay? It's a matter of, am I solving for interest, or does my problem involve interest, or does it involve the total amount, okay? So pay attention to the question. The question is usually the last sentence or at the very end of the problem, okay? It says, how much interest is earned? Okay, if you pay attention to the question, it is stating this. So we are looking for how much interest is earned, okay? Because our problem involves interest, okay? That means we should choose the formula that involves interest. So we need to be using I equals P times R times T. So that's why you're told to use this particular problem, or this particular formula, okay? All right, so now that we've identified the formula, we need to figure out what we're given, which variables we're given, and which variable we are looking for, okay? And then we can plug everything in and solve. All right, so let's go through this. The question is, how much interest is earned? So we are actually looking for the interest, okay? So that is our unknown. So that means we should know the values of everything else. We should know P, we should know R, and we should know T, okay? So it says if $5,000 is loaned, okay? So that's going to be your P value. That's the amount you borrowed, okay? So P is 5,000. And then if you look for the interest rate, look for the percentage, okay? You see this phrase annual rate, okay? All the interest rates are going to be annual rates. You do not need to do anything with that information. They're all going to say that, okay? Just look at the percentage and turn it into a decimal, okay? So we have 6.2%. We need to change that into a decimal, okay? So again, drop the percent sign, take your decimal point, move it 2 places to the left. Okay, so our interest rate is going to be 0.062. And then time is 9 months. Okay, so don't put T equals 9 because that would mean 9 years. Okay, you need 9 months. So you need to take the 9 and divide it by 12. Okay, so now we can go ahead and plug all this in. Okay, so we've got I equals P times R times T. So you just need to multiply this stuff together. So we're going to have P is 5,000 times R, which is 0.062, and then T is 9/12, okay? You can plug all of this into your calculator, okay, and you will get your answer, okay? So let's go check it out, okay? So we're gonna go to your calculator, you're gonna get 5,000, okay, you're gonna punch it in just like you see it, times 0.062 times 9 divided by 12, okay? And there you go, okay? You should get 232.5, okay? So remember, this is interest is a dollar amount, dollars and cents. So this is $232.50, okay? Let's go ahead and write that down, okay? And that is your answer, okay? You know, when you're doing this financial stuff, you kind of want, when you get to the end of each problem, you want to ask yourself, you know, is this a reasonable amount? Okay, so think about this problem. You borrowed $5,000 for a relatively short period of time, 9 months. Okay, so remember, if you borrowed $5,000, okay, you're going to get a number that's much less than $5,000. Okay, so $232.50. That's a sensible number. Okay, remember, if you had plugged something in and you got a number bigger than $5,000, that doesn't make any sense. How can the interest be more than the amount you borrowed, okay, for just a 9-month period, okay? So try to reason through, you know, the answer I got, does it make sense, okay? All right, let's jump over to example 5, okay? This is going to be another problem where I'm telling you to use the formula I equals P times R times T because it's going to involve the interest, okay? So let's flip over there. Okay, so for example 4, get it up here, or sorry, example 5. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's read through it. Okay, it says, find the term of a loan of $225 at 7% if the simple interest is $94.50. Okay, when you read this problem, as soon as you read it, the phrase simple interest should stick out. Okay, so this is a simple interest problem. Okay, so that narrows your choices down to, do I use the formula I equals P times R times T, or do I use the formula A equals P times 1 plus R times T? Okay, so again, it comes down to, does my problem involve the interest or the total amount that I pay back? Okay, all right, so when you look at this and you read through it, okay, you see a bunch of numbers there. Let's go ahead and, you know, go through this again. It says, find the term of a loan, okay? So we're finding the term of the loan. Remember, term means time. So we are actually looking for time here, okay? So that's what we're looking for, okay? The interest rate is 7%, okay? So remember, 7, drop the percent sign. The decimal point, you don't see it. It's understood to be behind the 7. and then you're going to move that decimal point 2 places to the left. So the interest rate is going to be 0.07, okay, or 0.07, okay? All right, so now we've got to figure out our P, our I, our A. What's going on here? Okay, well, if we keep reading here, okay, if the simple interest is $94.50, okay, that part that I've circled there in red, it's basically telling us the interest. The amount of interest that you pay on the loan is $94.50. Okay, so that's your I value. Okay, $94.50. So as soon as you make that identification that that's your interest value, you know you need to be using I equals P times R times T, okay? And not this formula, because this formula with the A does not involve an I value, okay? So you're not going to be using that formula. You want the formula with the interest value, okay? All right, so that means that this other value, $225, that must be your P or your principal, okay? That's the amount you borrow, okay? So remember, if you reread the problem, find the term of a loan of $225. Yes, that's implied that $225 is the amount you borrowed. So that is your principal, okay? So we have the value of all our variables, okay? We're going to plug in, and that's going to allow us to solve for T. Okay, so the interest value is $94.50, okay, and the P value is $225, okay, the R value is 0.07, okay, and then that needs to be multiplied by T, okay. So what we need to do is solve it for T, okay. When you're doing this stuff, okay, the formulas are going to get increasingly more complicated, and my advice to you is to do everything one step at a time. Okay, if you try to do everything at one time, you're probably going to make a mistake. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my calculator, and I am going to figure out what T is being multiplied by. I am going to multiply together 225 and 0.07. Okay, so let's go to the calculator. Let's clear out our last problem. We're going to do 225 times 0.07. Okay, and I get a clean decimal, 15.75. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that down. Okay, so we're going to get 15.75 times T. The left side is still $94.50. Okay, and so now if I want to solve for T, okay, remember T is multiplied by 15.75. So if I want to undo that, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. Okay, so whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. Okay, so then the 15.75s on the right will cancel, okay, and leave you with T. And now I can go to my calculator and put in 94.50 divided by 15.75, and that will give me my answer. Okay, all right, so plug it in here, and we get 6. Okay, so T equals 6. Okay, so remember, this is a time value, okay, that we're looking for. So the answer will not be dollars and cents, okay? It's a time value. So time, when you're working in the formula, it's measured in years. So the answer is 6 years, okay? So what happened with this problem, okay, what this means is if you borrowed $225 at 7% interest for 6 years, then you would pay back $94.50 in interest. Okay? All right, so now we're going to jump to examples 6 and 7, and we're going to practice the other simple interest formula, which is the A equals P times 1 plus RT.